drawing, you can see that the Reinholdts own that little bitty portion just right north of the red line, and the Seymours own that little bitty portion just north of the blue line.
So in essence, it encapsulates their outer property boundary.
Yes.
With a minor bit for alleys at one point Churchville was incorporated.
Yes.
Understood, thank you. We are in a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on the proposal? Or online? It doesn't appear as though there's anyone who has taken issue with that. At this point, I will make a motion to end our public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Heater.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. Does the board have any comments or discussion, or do we have a motion for us? Or two motions?
I'll make a motion to convey the referenced property in Churchville to the Reinholds by quitclaim deed.
Second.
Any board discussion? Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Heater.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to convey the adjacent property in Churchville to the name Seymour by quitclaim deed.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Heater.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye, both motions carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have 9:39. Our next public hearing is set to begin at 9:40. We will just take a brief moment. All right, I have 9:40. I'll make a motion to go into public hearing for the consideration of Chapter 7 Tax Sale Certificate, Warren County Code of Ordinance.
Second.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Heater.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye, we are in public hearing.
The city of Indianola contacted the county attorney's office as well as the treasurer, Julie, to ask whether this county would consider having a ordinance called tax sale certificate. What this would allow is the city to be able to work with the developer and then also to work with the tax situation to resolve that so a developer could acquire this property, a particular property within the city limits. There are counties around us that have this ordinance. Julie said that she had no problem with the ordinance. I sent it to her to read. She had no problem with it. And I would just ask that the board consider approving Chapter 7 tax sale certificate as part of our code of ordinances.
Does the county currently not have a tax sale structure, or is that just an unincorporated Warren County?
That would be in an unincorporated Warren County. We have to have this particular order pursuant to the Iowa code to allow the city to do what it wants to do. Any city within the county.
And in essence, it's when someone's delinquent on their property taxes, it provides the city a mechanism to have a tax sale.
It provides the city a mechanism to declare the property abandoned and then figure out what to do with it next.
We are in public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment or be heard on the consideration of the tax sale certificate code of ordinances update? none, I'll make a motion to end our public hearing.
Second.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
DeCook,
Aye. Does the board have any questions or discussion on consideration of tax sale certificate ordinance update?
So the ordinance that you're asking us to approve, it allows the city to negotiate the outstanding tax amount on the property.
It allows the city to have a process to deal with an abandoned property regarding the tax situation.
Okay, it really gives them the authority to figure out how to transfer the ownership from the abandonment to a developer.
Or anybody else
Or
would be
anybody
interested.
else,
Yes,
yeah.
that's my understanding.
Good, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the Chapter 7 sales tax certificate in the Warren County Code of Ordinances.
Second?
Any discussion?
Would you consider waiving second and third reading too, please?
Yes, I
Sorry.
would. Consider waiving second, third reading.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? I do have a question, Don, on our, item number 2. I don't remember that motion. Did we waive second, third on the Seymour and Reinhold?
We did not, we did not, but I don't believe necessarily that we need to.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second, with a friendly amendment to waive second and third readings. Roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 5 on our agenda today is approve offer to purchase temporary easement for temporary easement project number FM-C091 Friends 138 Friends -55-91. Good morning, David, how are you?
Good morning, good, how are you? So this is for the Stone Street Bridge Replacement Project, just east of R45. This first temporary easements in the amount of 0.15 acres. It's to accommodate ditch grading around the ends of the bridge. As we replace bridges, they get larger every single time, so we need to accommodate. The ditch is also going out wider, so that's why you see these easements before you. So this first one's just temporary easement only in the amount of $100.
I'll make a motion to approve the offer to purchase the temporary easement for the Stone Street Bridge.
Second.
Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
DeCook.
Motion carries. And number 6, approve offer to purchase temporary and permanent easement for project number FM-C091 Friends 138-55-91.
So this is the same project, 0.12 acres of permanent easement for the purpose of road right-of-way, and then 0.13 acres of temporary easement. Temporary easement set at $100, and the permanent easement is at $1,200 for a total of $1,300.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the offer to purchase the temporary and permanent easements for the Stone Street Bridge.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much, David. All right, number 7 on our agenda is consider approval of ARPA funded projects.
Okay. This morning I'm bringing before you several ARPA-funded projects that have been requested by various groups within the county. I'm gonna go through these one at a time and ask that you, approve them through motion and second, so we have that on our record keeping. The first one is approving use of ARPA funds for Greenfield Plaza's stormwater runoff project. Be it resolved that the Warren County Board of Supervisors hereby approves the use of ARPA funds, $200,000 for Greenfield Plaza stormwater runoff project.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Is there any discussion? I would just point out to the public or those that are watching that all of these projects that have been considered or are being considered and voted on today were also discussed in various budget meetings and or ARPA budget meetings in the past. And so it might seem like this is sort of, I don't know, clerical in nature or that we're cruising through some of them. The board's all had an opportunity to review these. This one, for example, was brought before us by an engineer as well as our engineer with a great deal of input from Secondary Roads Department as well as others. And so it might seem like it's moving kind of quick, but it's not for lack of discussion or thought. We've spent a fair amount of time on each of these prior to. So we have a motion, we have a second, and roll call vote, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye.
The second one I'll bring before you is approving use of ARPA funds for repairing a bridge on S-23 Highway in Warren County, Iowa. One of the reasons this came before the board is because this bridge does need repair. Our county engineer brought that to the board's attention. Also, it is it's the only way across water to get to the other side for those in the southern part of the county, unless they go to the road that goes by Beach, or they come to Ninola. So that was one of the reasons that, for safety reasons, we believe that this fits under ARPA funding. Be it resolved that the Warren County Board of Supervisors hereby approves the use of ARPA funds, $230,000 for repairing a bridge on S-23 Highway in Warren County, Iowa.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye, motion carries.
The next one is approving use of ARPA funds for Warren County Emergency Management purchase of portable digital message signs. Be it resolved that the Warren County Board of Supervisors hereby approves the use of ARPA funds in $10,000 for Warren County Emergency Management to purchase portable digital message signs for use during emergency situations. Having these signs will allow the people to be involved in the emergency situation they have rather than having to direct traffic.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye.
The next one is approving use of ARPA funds for Phase 1 of the Warren County-owned Public Sanitary Sewer Systems Project. Be it resolved that the Warren County Board of Supervisors hereby approves the use of ARPA funds up to $26,000 for Phase 1 of the Warren County-owned Public Sanitary Sewer Systems Project.
And for reference, that is in Liberty Center.
Yes. I will make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye, motion carries.
This one is asking for approval of additional ARPA funds for Warren County Conservation Board project to stabilize the bank along Somerset Trail. You may recall that the board had already approved funds for that based on estimates that the County Conservation Board had given regarding stabilizing the bank along the Somerset Trail. When the bids came in, they did come in higher than that, $4,374 higher. To finish this project, they're going to need an additional $4,374. That's what the board approved, those additional ARPA funds for that project.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye, motion carries.
The next one is approving use of ARPA funds for a gun locker on the first floor of the Warren County Justice Center. This locker would be used to secure guns that a citizen may bring into the center because they can't go beyond the secure place. They would be secured in that locker. Be it resolved that the Warren County Board of Supervisors hereby approves the use of ARPA funds, $11,000 for purchase of a gun locker for the Warren County Justice Center first floor for securing weapons at point of entry to the building.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Just a brief comment, I think that it also goes for other law enforcement entities that might be entering the building. Well, the county technically owns, we would own the property, we own the building. The courts actually set the rules for what happens inside of a courthouse. And so we're not permitted to bring weapons into the courthouse, and that rule applies to everybody. And so there might be some benefit on this one for other law enforcement officers to come in and check weapons prior to entering the Justice Center as well. So, motion and a second, roll call please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Heater.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye, motion carries.
The last one is approving use of, ARPA funds for build-out of probation and juvenile court offices in the Warren County Justice Center. Be it resolved that the Warren County Board of Supervisors hereby approves the use of ARPA funds, $500,000 for build-out of probation and juvenile court offices in the Warren County Justice Center. That will allow both of those groups, probation and the juvenile court supervisors, to be within the Justice Center, making it easier for those who need to report to probation or those who need to work with their juvenile court officers to have the opportunity to do so.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Again, this one's a larger ticket item from the ARPA funds, but I would tell you that I'm really pleased with this decision. I think there's a lot of efficiencies for having both probation and juvenile court within the Justice Center. We also have a paying tenant from one of those entities, and that also helps the county with some space issues, perhaps down the road as well. So for a variety of reasons, while it is a larger request, I think there's just a great deal of efficiency to having all of these centrally located within the project. So I'm a happy yes on this when we go to roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Heater.
Aye.
DeCook.
Absolutely yes. Thank you so much, Don.
Mhm.
You know, I think it was our county attorney who mentioned that you'd be surprised that there are a number of folks that get sentenced and part of their sentence involves probation, but they sort of fail to make their way to the probation office as they're leaving. So this might help focus some of these people where they need to go in a little easier fashion. So, well done. All right, number 8 on our agenda today is consider setting fee for court-appointed counsel for indigent clients in guardianship and or conservatorship cases at $500 with possible action.
When a person needs a guardian or a conservator, that issue has to go to court, and the court either agrees to appoint or denies appointment of a guardian or a conservator or both. Those people, if they are entitled to representation. If they can't afford it and the court finds that they're indigent, then they receive court-appointed counsel. As far as I can tell from our records, the county has never set a limit or an hourly rate for those attorneys who would represent an indigent client in a guardianship or conservatorship case. I'm coming before the board today to request that the board set a limit on that fee. It gives an opportunity for that person to have representation, but it also limits the amount of dollars the county is responsible for paying pursuant to Iowa Code Section 633.56, parens E, parens 3.
I'll make a motion to set a fee for court-appointed counsel for indigent clients in guardianship and/or conservatorship cases at $500.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. Thank you so much, Dawn.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is consider appointment of Greg. I don't want to mispronounce his name. You want to have a correct pronunciation? Ruach to the Civil Service Commission.
I will make a motion to approve said appointment to the Civil Service Commission.
I'll second.
I didn't catch his name, Crystal.
Greg, roll call.
Thank you. And for real, I do want to say thank you for stepping up to serve. That I do apologize. I should have got your name right. But I do appreciate your service. We have a motion. We have a second. Roll call vote, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. Congratulations. Next on the agenda is receive and file reports, and we have one report from the VA.
I'll make a motion to receive and file report from the VA.
Second.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. Next on the agenda is supervisor report. Would anyone like to go first?
First. Thank you. We have our continuation of budget work sessions and workshops for Board of Supervisors. Attended Aging Resources Board of Directors meeting. We had a Warren County Department Head and Electeds meeting. Met with Greenfield Plaza and Hills of Country Community Association members. Warren County Joint 911 Service Board Public Budget Hearing and regular board meeting. Met with Tim Williams and Ms. Moyer regarding the Grand Meadows Estates development. And I'd like to welcome our Board of Supervisors' new office manager, Michaela Brooks, to the county. And the Board of Directors' 5th Judicial Department of Correction meeting. Impact Board of Directors meeting, and we started the Iowa Public Health Leadership Academy Year 3.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Jack.
Thanks. Of course, I feel like we've spent a lot of time together the last couple of weeks, and I just want to say, for the public's benefit or for our employees' benefit, I think that our board, there's a lot of synergy right now on our board, and a lot of agreement and alignment and enthusiasm for what the county's doing. And I, for one, really appreciate all the hard work of my colleagues and everything that we're doing. It seems like there is a lot going on, but our board seems to step up and get the job done. So I've also attended the budget meetings and ARPA meetings. There's been a couple of Warren County Justice Center probation area and the juvenile court officer build-out meetings. We've got a fairly detailed meeting this afternoon, and one of the issues, just for the board's reference, is what type of walls are we gonna be putting into those? Are we gonna stay with the furniture walls or go with stick walls? And there's some needs or some desires for Jerry Evans at the state. He wants to go one way. The costs are an issue, so I'll be bringing you guys up to speed as soon as we kind of nail down cost. And we also had a meeting with Judge Huppert with the state regarding the outstanding balance of $634,000 on the AV. They're just asking for a billing structure and an MOU, so they're just doing their diligence. The meeting was very positive, and I feel very good about us putting some structure in place for them so they understand what what was provided and what the invoices are detailing. So we're just doing some administrative work before we get that kicked off. But, and then just working through the DCI Group contract extension. I'd like to just say that DCI Group has just been phenomenal to work with. They were doing everything in their power not to extend this contract. They didn't, it was obvious to me that our best interest is their best interest. Like, they're really trying hard to make this palatable. The senior construction manager actually did not invoice us for his additional time for the last 2 months. Like, he just took his salary and his amount completely out to try to limit the impact to the county. So there's just a lot of appreciation for their approach to the county's best interest. I'd also spent some time working on like a communications package that I presented to the board. I know we're not there yet, but more to come on that. I met with the owner of the temporary court facility, trying to get a feel on how we exit that lease agreement, if there was a potential to purchase that building or negotiate a sales price, and I think I brought the board up to date on what our options are there. But for the most part, again, just thanks to the board for, you know, the positive, enthusiastic approach to all the things that we're doing right now. It's really great to be a part of it, so.
Thank you, Derek. And mine, I'll start with what we're all sort of working on. Just so you know, the budget really consumes most of the time in the first part of the year. So the month of January through very early February, it's very budget focused. And so that's how the board is spending most of our time, which is why as we, as you see on our consent agenda, we just go through and approve the meetings that we've done, because we have quite a few workshops and budget times, and that's it's interesting, and it's really where the rubber meets the road for what happens throughout the course of the year. Those budget meetings are very, very important. So I give this little spiel every February or March or whatever. But it's the time for public meetings. It's really the time where you have an interest in, let's just take, for example, the secondary roads department. That budget meeting is where you want to be if you want to offer some input and some advice. As we set the budget, that's where David, our engineer, gets his budget. And so those are important ones to come to. This year, I'm proud to announce that I think the engineer's budget has probably not looked better ever. Our county has been blessed with some additional resources from the federal government by way of the ARPA dollars. I think this board is trying diligently to be prudent with those dollars, but through that, I'll give another example of the courthouse. For the public's benefit, there's a line item in the original courthouse budget called FF&E, which is furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Those are things that the taxpayers of Warren County are going to have to provide. We need a metal detector, as an example, in that building. It's about $100,000, and so it made the line item of FF&E years ago. Well, with some of the federal funding, we're going to use some ARPA dollars to take care of that FF&E item. And we're finding other ways, like the gun locker that made the list earlier for $11,000, and those things start adding up. But what they also do is they pull from that FF&E budget, and it's going to be impressive as the numbers shake out and are finalized in the very, very near term. So budget meetings, that's a big one. Workshops and ARPA meetings as well. Very, very important, but I think it's going in the right direction there. I attended a contract negotiation with our attorney and our engineer. That is in process. Attended the meeting Greenfield Plaza in the hills of Coventry, where we really got to spend some time with those residents, and I think it was beneficial on a lot of levels. One, at the end of the day, we'll be taking some action to really help some drainage issues in the plaza that I think will be beneficial for the plaza for a long time going forward. But we also had some other conversations there, and I think that we'll see where it goes. But it was a promising meeting, and I was pleased to be a part of it. I also attended an airport meeting with the various cities. I was the county representative there. That was held in Norwalk, I believe last week. I saw it made the news in all the papers. So I'll speak to it just a little bit. Without tipping our hand on where the county will be. Essentially, all of these entities have received quite a bit of federal dollars, some of which is for infrastructure. There's also an infrastructure bill that Congress passed last year. So there's a fair amount of money that is out there to be used for various purposes. The Des Moines Airport is requesting some contribution, and what they're looking for is they're looking for sort of a circle around the airport of getting local buy-in that they can then leverage that local buy-in to access state money, because the state received a lot of money as well, and they're determining what to do with their infrastructure and COVID dollars as well as federal dollars. And so there's a price tag of approximately $575 million. It's a phased project, but it is very large. Runways get expanded, larger planes can come in that can haul different cargo. There'd be a lot of more direct flights in and out of Des Moines Airport. It would bring the airport, it would modernize it quite a bit. And I think the project has some merit. I think it has a lot of merit. What they're requesting is about a $32 million local contribution. So that is split up between all those entities within that circle. I won't say all. There's a couple that seem to have ducked their way out of that, but most of them. Right out of the chute, Des Moines committed $10 million and Polk County committed $10 million. So the first 20 of the 32 have been secured. In that meeting, I did ask Mr. Foley what number he's at right now with commitments, and he indicated to me that he was at about $27.5 million of commitments. He also really indicated in that meeting that the money is certainly nice, but what he's also really focused on is getting some level of buy-in, names on the list, names of different entities that at some level are contributing to the project, because when he goes then back to the state, he can say, okay, we didn't get 32 million, maybe we got 29.5 or $30 million of total local buy-in, and we've got 19 names on the list of these various entities that all are supportive in some way, shape, or form of this project. Will the state and the feds make up the difference, or can they increase rates or whatever and get the project done? And my guess is, considering that they're already at 27.5 million out of the 32 requests, my guess is that they're well on their way. So at some point, very soon, we'll have a discussion with this board to see what, if anything, Warren County itself wants to contribute. Now the rub is, and why the headlines will say what they'll say, is Warren County tapped to give money to a Polk County project. And, sensational news sells, that grabs the headline, but if you read through it, you're looking at probably a relatively minor contribution in consideration of the $10 million of ARPA funds. A percentage point, 1% of the county's $10 million ARPA funds is $100,000. So if you're at 0.5%, or I don't know, whatever the board wants to do, some number, the impact will come from the name attached to the list and some dollar contribution. sensational news headline sells, I get it. But I do think that, looking at the numbers, the number of passengers, they track by zip code. So you can see how many folks from Indianola, how many folks from Carlisle, how many folks from Norwalk, how many folks from rural Warren County, utilize the airport. It's impressive. So, you know, we'll bring that before the board, soon, but I wanted to at least mention that we were there and we'll take it under consideration. More importantly, at that meeting, I did also have a chance to spend some real time with Indianola's new mayor, and I also spent some time with Carlisle's mayor. I get to see Mayor Tom quite a bit, and I work with Luke Nelson on various things. I'm actually meeting with Luke and Holly tomorrow at 1 on some additional growth in Norwalk. And so that'll be interesting, but it was nice to get to spend some time with the other mayors as well. Visited with 2 chambers, the Norwalk Chamber and the Indianola Chamber. Let's see. Spent some time with a couple of our department heads regarding efficiencies. We did have a department head meeting, and I like doing those. I think that that's really important because it gets everyone sort of in the same room. It sort of reminds everyone that we're all on the same team, and sometimes you get some pretty good ideas when you increase the pool. And so out of that, I did hear from one of them about an efficiency that I think maybe the board might explore a little bit too. But in reality, what we're looking for is ways to streamline services, ways to improve services for citizens, and ways to be cost conscious. And I think everyone's sort of on the same page with that. It probably helps that it's budget time, and the same department heads are before us with budgets, and so everyone's sort of, you know, it just sort of flows together nicely to keep that as a reminder. That's probably enough talking for one day. There will be my supervisor's report. Ooh, I do have one other thing. I lied. Then you're up. Met with Jamie Morawski, also did a budget meeting, an evening budget meeting, with Megan Andrew, who came back. Our new budget director is doing a very good job. She's a hard worker, she's very bright. But there's also some niceties to have our former budget director looking over things as well. So we spent some real time on rural basic levy rate, the sheriff's budget. That's a larger budget for our county. And we also sort of piecing things together. But through one of those budget meetings, I just want to give a little bit of a preview. Nothing will be set in stone, and we'll see where things shake out. But on the Justice Center, I think the public is going to be awfully surprised on how the numbers work out on the Justice Center here in Warren County. Those that have followed along pretty closely might be aware that through some insurance proceeds and through some former sheriff's savings, we had about $1.2 million that were pledged to be used. Those funds are sitting in the general reserve to be used for the project. So I think there was a fire, and maybe we had an insurance check for about $600,000, and then the sheriffs had over time amassed some dollars as well. And so we had about $1.2 million, and we also had a contingency budget on the project because you have to. But we pledged those dollars to use the project, and thinking that with inflation things are going to be worse. And, we thought that we would probably utilize all or certainly most of those dollars. I'm here to tell you that I don't have the final numbers because the dust hasn't settled, but it would be surprising to me if at least 500,000 or maybe 600,000 remain in the general fund that won't be used for the project, through some shifting with some ARPA dollars and just through a pretty smooth project. I mean, it's nothing's without hiccups on that sort of a scale, but I realistically think about half of that money probably won't need to be used for the project. excited about is when the dust settles on that, what I really want to see is the impact to the debt levy that every citizen in this county will pay for the project. Because I know that it's going to be much, much less than the anticipated 95 cents that people voted overwhelmingly to do the project. So during the original vote, there was a build the project on the square, 70-30 vote-ish. And that was with an anticipated 95 cents on the debt levy. I'm going to tell you that number will be a closer impact in the 70s, maybe mid-70s on the debt levy. And also that number continues to decrease as valuations and additional commercial properties keep happening, as you add a Hy-Vee super or a Hy-Vee distribution center that's 800,000 square feet out by Cumming, as you add $300 million of valuation on Highway 28 in Norwalk, as you continue to add dollars in valuation to the county, the impact for all on that debt levy is going to continue to decrease. And so that makes me happy. And budget's going well. So we'll have some numbers hopefully by the middle of the week. We've looked at some preliminary numbers yesterday. I think that things are gonna go in the right direction there. So, and especially if you happen to live in rural Warren County, that one I know for sure will be going down. So, there's my lengthy supervisor's report. All you, Crystal.
Thank you. I want to thank Chelsea Edgington for being our board assistant for the time that she was here, and all the hard work she put in organizing our new website. Thank you. And just thank you so much, and good luck in your future endeavors. We're so excited for you.
I concur. All right, number 12 on the agenda is public input. If there is anyone from the public who would like to be heard, now is your time. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. Our board will not take any action on the comments due to the requirements of the open meetings law, but may do so in the future. No public input will be allowed in any of today's agenda items. Is there anyone in the room or online? No online.
I'd just like to thank Chelsea for everything she's done for the time. She's always been very willing to help out if we need anything in the board's office, and so I want to thank her for the good job she's done. And I think she's gonna bring Michaela up to speed before she leaves, and I think Michaela will be a good addition too, so thank you guys.
Thank you.
Seeing no additional input, our next meeting date is February 15th, 2022. It's our evening meeting. We hold every other meeting in the evening to make our meetings, our two main meetings a month, a little more accessible to folks. When I saw that originally, I thought it was on Valentine's Day. And our attorney had to remind me that I'm not missing Valentine's Day for a meeting. It's actually on the 15th, which is the day after Valentine's Day. So since Valentine's Day will come before then, I wish you all a wonderful Valentine's Day. And we'll hope to see you on the 15th at 6 p.m. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.